You were never supposed to exist. Not you, not anyone. The odds were stacked against life from the very beginning. Our universe was born in chaos, a sudden burst of energy and matter governed by laws that, if tweaked even slightly, would have made atoms impossible, stars unstable, or gravity too weak to form galaxies. And yet somehow the perfect balance emerged. But that was only the first of countless cosmic accidents that led, eventually, to us. Let's break the illusion. Evolution doesn't have a direction. There is no target, no blueprint, no guiding hand pushing life toward intelligence. It's messy, brutal, and full of dead ends. Most species that ever lived, over 99%, are extinct. They didn't fail because they were weak or unfit. They simply couldn't adapt quickly enough to an ever-changing world. And yet, in this chaotic game of survival, one lineage managed to hang on long enough to walk upright, develop language, and build machines to study the stars. That lineage is us, but it could have easily been something else. Go back 600 million years. Earth's oceans were filled with strange, soft-bodied organisms. No eyes, no bones, no predators. Then, for reasons still debated, an evolutionary explosion occurred. The Cambrian explosion. Suddenly, life diversified. Animals evolved armor, claws, and nervous systems. Many of these traits appeared due to random genetic mutations that happened to work. If they hadn't, multicellular life as we know it might never have taken hold. Fast forward to the age of vertebrates. Fish crawled onto land. Reptiles gave rise to dinosaurs, but mammals? They were tiny, shrew-like creatures living in the shadows for over 150 million years. If the asteroid hadn't struck the Yucatan Peninsula 66 million years ago, dinosaurs might still rule the Earth. And mammals might still be hiding underground if they hadn't gone extinct entirely. Even once mammals flourished, the story wasn't straightforward. Our primate ancestors evolved in Africa, adapting to a variety of niches. One group developed larger brains, better vision, and more dexterous hands. But intelligence is costly. Big brains need lots of energy. They make childbirth harder. It was a risky evolutionary gamble, and for a long time, it didn't pay off. For most of human prehistory, our ancestors lived in small, vulnerable bands, barely scraping by. Around 70,000 years ago, something changed. It wasn't a physical mutation, but a cognitive revolution. Homo sapiens began to think symbolically. We developed language, art, myth. We became storytellers. That shift, likely the result of a handful of genetic accidents, allowed us to outcompete other hominins like Neanderthals and Denisovans. We weren't stronger or better adapted to the cold, but we could imagine things that didn't exist. We could coordinate, plan, and believe. That gave us power. Still, we were never inevitable. Our population hovered at dangerous lows for thousands of years. A single volcanic eruption, a regional drought, or a novel disease could have wiped us out. Genetic evidence shows that at one point, all humans alive today descended from a population of fewer than 10,000 individuals. We were a blink away from extinction. Even the milestones we now see as obvious, agriculture, writing, cities, were unplanned. Agriculture arose independently in several parts of the world, not because it was superior, but because it became necessary. Climate shifts may have forced hunter-gatherers to experiment with planting seeds. And even then, farming led to worse nutrition, more disease, and harder labor for thousands of years. But it allowed population growth, and with it, civilization. Everything since then, philosophy, technology, empires, has ridden on waves of randomness. The Black Death killed off half of Europe. The fall of Constantinople pushed scholars west, fueling the Renaissance. A lightning bolt sparked the idea of electricity. Penicillin was discovered by accident. The internet was born from Cold War fears. We live in a world of cascading consequences, some predictable, most not. And now here we are, conscious creatures made from stardust, staring back at the cosmos that birthed us. But let's not forget the reality. Nothing about our existence was guaranteed. We're a product of entropy, mutation, and coincidence. And that should change how we see everything, our place in the universe, our relationship to other species, and the future we're blindly building. Because if a billion accidents made us, then one or two more could undo everything. When we talk about evolution, we often tell it like a triumphal march. One species steadily improving until it becomes us. But that's a myth. Evolution doesn't move in straight lines. It sprawls, splits, backtracks, and collapses. And for most of Earth's history, humans weren't even on the radar. Let's zoom into the details. The earliest hominins, our distant ancestors, didn't look like anything we'd recognize. They walked upright but still climbed trees. Their brains were small, their tools primitive. Over millions of years, different branches of the human tree emerged. Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and many more. Each adapted to specific climates, food sources, and challenges. But only one survived, Homo sapiens. Why us? The answer may lie in chance. Neanderthals were strong, intelligent, and had larger brains. Denisovans lived across Asia. Homo floresiensis, the hobbits of Indonesia, adapted to island life. All these cousins vanished. Some interbred with us, but none endured. Maybe we were better at collaboration. Maybe we adapted faster. Or maybe we just got lucky. Luck also shaped our migrations. Homo sapiens left Africa around 60,000 years ago, not in a grand exodus, but in waves of small groups driven by droughts, changing game routes, or curiosity. We crossed into Europe, Asia, Australia, and finally the Americas. At each step, we faced new climates, predators, and environments. Most groups died out. A few survived, and their descendants built the foundations of human diversity. It's important to realize how fragile this journey was. During the Toba catastrophe, a massive volcanic eruption 74,000 years ago, some scientists believe global temperatures plunged, leading to a bottleneck in human population. Our numbers may have dropped to just a few thousand. One shift in wind direction, one failed migration, and humanity might have ended there. Even after survival, progress wasn't steady. For tens of thousands of years, humans lived in small tribes. We hunted, gathered, and occasionally painted on cave walls. Agriculture didn't arrive until about 12,000 years ago. Cities came thousands of years after that, and writing, law, and mathematics even later. Most of our ancestors lived and died without leaving any trace in history. And then came one of the strangest twists of all, civilization. Agriculture changed everything. It allowed surplus food, which led to population booms, which required organization, which birthed governments, armies, and religion. But it also brought inequality, disease, war, and environmental destruction. Some scientists argue that agriculture was our biggest mistake, trading freedom for stability, health for hierarchy. Still, those accidents kept piling up. A fertile river valley here, a domesticated animal there, a metal discovered by a curious smith. And from these random sparks, entire civilizations rose and fell. The pyramids, the Great Wall, the Roman aqueducts, all built by societies that emerged from coincidence and collapsed from conflict, drought, or economic strain. Consider language. No one invented it. It emerged slowly, a side effect of brain development and social complexity. Writing came later, first to keep track of trade, not ideas. Philosophy, poetry, and science were byproducts. Most of the greatest thinkers in history were born in specific times and places that allowed their talents to flourish. Had Socrates been born in a war zone, or Newton died in infancy, the intellectual world might look very different today. And let's not forget how many ideas were lost. The Library of Alexandria burned. Entire cultures were wiped out by colonization. Technologies were invented, forgotten, and rediscovered. The compass, gunpowder, paper, none of them were inevitable. All required accidents, a misplaced mineral, a battlefield innovation, a monk experimenting with inks. Today we like to think we're in control, that we steer history, but we are still creatures of randomness. The internet grew out of military research. Social media began as a college experiment. Smartphones emerged from dozens of failed devices. The COVID-19 pandemic reshaped the world almost overnight. None of these were part of a plan. They were shocks to the system, some beneficial, others catastrophic. And now we face a paradox. We are the most powerful species on Earth, capable of editing genes, manipulating atoms, and exploring space. But that power rests on a tower of evolutionary accidents, cultural twists, and historical chance. One more accident, a rogue AI, a misused virus, a nuclear conflict, and it could all unravel. That's the deeper truth about human evolution. It didn't lead to us because it had to. It led to us because it could, and just as easily, it could have led somewhere else, or nowhere at all. So the question is, now that we're aware of this chaotic origin, what will we do with it? Understanding that we are the product of countless accidents doesn't diminish us, it empowers us. Because if our existence isn't the result of destiny, then our future isn't locked by fate. It's malleable, it's ours to shape. But doing that requires clarity and humility, and an honest reckoning with just how precarious our past has been. Let's look at the last few thousand years. Human civilization expanded rapidly. We developed science, built empires, created philosophy, invented industry. But every advancement came with trade-offs. The Industrial Revolution gave us machines, factories, and modern medicine, but also carbon emissions, environmental collapse, and weapons of mass destruction. The information age connected billions of people, but also amplified misinformation, social instability, and surveillance. These aren't failures of intelligence. They're signs that evolution doesn't prepare us for the systems we create. Our brains are still wired for small tribes and short-term rewards. We evolved to fear predators, not climate models. To seek sugar and fat, not data or nuance. Our instincts are ancient, even if our tools are futuristic. And that gap, the one between our biological heritage and our technological power, is perhaps the most dangerous accident of all. Because it means we now possess the ability to alter evolution itself, while still being shaped by evolutionary instincts we barely understand. We can now edit genomes using CRISPR, potentially curing diseases or designing future generations. We can create artificial intelligence that learns faster than any human. We can simulate entire ecosystems, economies, and even aspects of consciousness. But every one of these breakthroughs raises questions we're not evolutionarily equipped to answer. Should we enhance our children? Who decides what traits are desirable? What happens if AI becomes uncontrollable? Or if biotech accidentally creates a global pandemic? These aren't hypotheticals. These are decisions being made now by scientists, corporations, and governments, and they will define whether we survive the next century. So, how do we manage a future built on randomness and driven by power? One answer lies in acknowledging our shared fragility. We may look different, speak different languages, and worship different gods, but biologically, we're nearly identical. Every human alive shares 99.9% of their DNA. We are a single species, shaped by the same improbable history. That unity matters more than ever. Because global threats don't care about borders. Climate change, pandemics, AI risks, nuclear conflict. These are species-level problems. They demand species-level cooperation. And yet, we still divide ourselves by nation, by class, by ideology. We let old instincts, tribalism, dominance, fear, guide decisions in a world they were never meant to rule. But there is hope. If accidents made us, then intention can remake us. We can teach empathy. We can design systems that reward long-term thinking. We can build technologies that enhance cooperation instead of division. We can study the evolutionary traps that sabotage our judgment and develop tools to override them. In fact, we've already started. Behavioral economics reveals our biases. Neuroscience maps our instincts. Psychology offers ways to manage emotions and foster resilience. These aren't just academic fields, they're survival manuals. And the more we understand our accidental nature, the more we can transcend it. Because here's the twist. Recognizing our randomness doesn't mean we're powerless. It means we're responsible. We inherited a chaotic legacy, but now we write the next chapter. The same species that stumbled out of Africa, survived extinction bottlenecks, invented language, and reached the moon, can also confront climate change, prevent global war, and imagine a wiser civilization. The path ahead isn't clear. It never was. But that's not a weakness. It's a challenge. Evolution didn't guarantee our existence, but it gave us consciousness. And with that gift, we can choose what kind of species we want to become. Do we keep reacting, driven by ancient instincts in a modern world? Or do we evolve, intellectually, morally, technologically, on purpose? The truth is, we are not nature's final draft. We're the first version with the ability to edit the script. Every accident that led to us was blind. But what we do next doesn't have to be. If we are indeed the first species capable of understanding our own accidental origin, then we also carry a responsibility that no other life form has ever borne, to consciously shape the trajectory of life itself. Evolution didn't plan for us. It didn't select for wisdom or foresight. Those are byproducts, emergent properties of a brain that once evolved to track prey and avoid predators. But now, those same brains control nuclear arsenals, manipulate ecosystems, and develop intelligence beyond our own. It's easy to think of ourselves as the peak of evolution, but evolution has no peak. It has no direction, no goal, no endgame. It's a relentless experiment, always running, always discarding what doesn't work. The moment we stop adapting, mentally, socially, technologically, we risk becoming irrelevant, or worse, extinct. This might sound bleak, but it's actually liberating, because if nothing about our existence was guaranteed, then everything about our future is still open. That's a rare privilege in a universe that is, by all accounts, indifferent, and it places us at a crossroads no species has ever faced. We can choose to retreat into tribalism, short-term thinking, and reactionary fear, dooming ourselves to repeat the same patterns that nearly ended us before. Or we can embrace a new kind of evolution, one driven not by genes but by values, not by randomness but by responsibility. What would that look like? It means rethinking education, not just as job training, but as preparation for planetary stewardship. Teaching systems thinking, emotional intelligence, and existential risk management alongside mathematics and history. It means redesigning economics, not just to maximize profit, but to optimize long-term sustainability and well-being. Recognizing that infinite growth on a finite planet is a logical fallacy, and that well-being isn't measured in quarterly reports. It means reforming governance, not with the illusion of control, but with humility, building institutions that are resilient to shocks, open to feedback, and capable of acting on slow-moving long-term threats like climate collapse or AI misalignment. And it means reimagining culture, not just as entertainment, but as narrative infrastructure. The stories we tell ourselves shape the choices we make. If we keep romanticizing dominance, consumption, and conquest, we will keep building a world that mirrors those ideals. But if we elevate cooperation, empathy, and curiosity, we build a very different future. None of this is easy, but it is possible. Because we've done the impossible before. We built language out of grunts, cities out of dust, science out of superstition. We bent metal into spacecraft and launched our machines beyond the edge of the solar system. We are capable of miracles when we remember that we are also vulnerable. That humility and ambition are not opposites. They are the twin engines of intelligent evolution. So, when you look in the mirror, understand what you're seeing. A creature made of star stuff and survival. A product of accidents, improbabilities, and chaos, but also of resilience, adaptation, and imagination. You are not here by design, but you are here. And that matters, because now you have a choice. We all do. We can let the momentum of our evolutionary past drag us toward conflict, collapse, and extinction. Or we can decide consciously, collectively, to evolve further. Not just biologically, but morally, culturally, technologically. We are not the chosen species. We are the choosing species. And the future depends on what we choose next. So here we are, standing at the edge of a vast cosmic timeline, aware that everything leading to this moment was a chain of fortunate accidents. The path from primitive molecules to conscious minds was never guaranteed. And yet, it happened. Not because the universe had a plan, but because chance allowed it. That's both humbling and empowering, because it means we're not beholden to fate. We're not prisoners of biology or bound to repeat the past. Evolution may have been blind, but we don't have to be. We can choose where we go from here. Will we protect the fragile world that gave rise to us? Will we harness our intelligence to build societies that honor life rather than exploit it? Will we use our curiosity to explore not just the universe, but what it means to be fully human? These are the questions that define our era. 1 billion accidents made you, but what happens next is no accident at all.